I would wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and go and do a 4.2 mile loop, rest for 5 minutes and do another one. I would do that a few times. And that really was mental, I think, of being like, hey, I can control my mind. It doesn't matter if you're tired or not. Get up. It's like, how bad do you want this?
Alyssa McClellan, welcome to the Running FH podcast. How are you doing this afternoon?
Good. Thank you, Dominic. Thank you for having me.
I guess we would consider you the last woman standing. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
If they flipped it around. Something I'm curious to get your insight on. You mentioned to me having kids before we started recording. How did you describe this event to your kids when you told them you were doing this?
Oh man, when I explain this to the older boys, because the younger ones are 4 and 3, so they just think I'm just out there just running in circles. But when I explained it to the older ones, they're like, well, when are you going to be back? And I said, I don't know. There's really no ending to this. I mean, we could be out there to 200 and 300 miles. And he said, they don't run 300 miles. Like, they don't run 200 miles. Like, you're joking. And I'm like, no, it actually can and does go that long. So yeah, they think it's pretty wild.
I'd love to. I mean, you're probably one of the only moms out there on the course. Is there such a thing as mom strength? Do you feel like it propelled you further?
Oh, absolutely. Going through labor 4 times, like, this is a breeze compared to that. Like, and just having in the back of my mind, I really think that you can harness that strength of, I'm doing this for my children, and, just really thinking about them and having that on your mind. Like, it really does give you that extra push. For sure.
Obviously, I'm sure your husband is very protective over you, concerned over your safety. What was his thought? Did you have to convince him to let you do this? Like, what was his perspective on?
Not at all.
Yeah, this could get dangerous.
Honestly, probably the opposite. He is so supportive, and he believes in me probably more than I believe in myself. Even so that going out on the last loop, I looked at him and I can feel inside, I'm like, I don't know if this is a good idea. And I had told him that. I voiced that to him. I was like, I don't think you understand how I don't really feel that good right now. And he's like, go back out there anyways. Like, we're not going to sit in this chair. Like, go back out there. But in the back of his mind, he's like, everything's going to be fine. Like, she's fine. Like, he can see me better than I can see myself, so it's easier to see the glass on the outside than it is on the inside. So he was seeing me in a better state than what I was actually feeling. And yes, he is protective, and he did have the medical, watching and making sure that everything was good. But yeah, he's definitely there to push me further than what I push myself, for sure.
I love it. For those who aren't aware, maybe tuning in for the first time and don't know what we're discussing, we're talking about the BPN Go On More Last Man Standing Ultra, which happened close to 2 weeks ago. And the premise of the race, or the event, I wouldn't call it a race. I feel like it's more than that. I feel like that's understating it. It's a 4.2 mile loop every hour on the hour until there's one person remaining or God intervenes with weather, in the case of this year. And so basically, if you do the 4.2 mile loop in 45 minutes, then you have 15 minutes to rest, and it just goes until there's one person left. The race started out with, I want to say, 132 people. And you were one of the final people who was lasting. I want to say you went for 28 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Going back a few responses, you said, to your boys, not sure how long I'll be out there. Going on that start line, how long did you think you'd be out there, and how did you bridge that amount with the reality that it was 0:00 on the clock?
Honestly, I really thought I would be out there a little bit longer, but the heat, I love training in the heat, but it is different, and it's something that you definitely have to train for, in which I usually try to train for year round with just running in the heat, the hottest time of the day, and then getting in the sauna afterwards. But the heat did add up. So I did expect to be out there longer. But things happen that you can't control. But I really just tried to focus on one loop at a time. And then each hour was a new race, pretty much. It's just complete what's in front of you and try not to look too far ahead. I am excited to push further past that. past 100 and my watch ended up saying 119 miles. So I think if you can stay present, stay in the moment, and not look too far ahead, then you can push further than what you think. So
Giving some perspective to who you were leading into this, had you ever done anything this mentally insane? I know you competed at the highest levels of CrossFit. We'll get into that later, but like that's not the same as 4.2 miles until you either drop dead or ring a bell.
So I have actually done quite a few 100 miles. I did Sedona 125, which was super, super fun. And that's the longest race that I've done. And I've done a really difficult, my very first 100 miler was in Oklahoma with terrible weather and terrible leg pain. And I always say that if I could make it through that as being my first 100 miler, like I could really get through anything. I've also done Habanero 100, which is the hottest race here in Texas. They host it in August, the middle of August, towards the end of August. They really try to seek out the hottest day and start it at noon. So that was tough. But like you said, doing a last man standing, I've never done a last man standing event before. And it is totally different than a 100-mile race. A 100-mile race, you have 30 hours or whatever the cutoff is to get your 100 miles in. Although you go out there and you race it and you try to win, try to be a top female. But with a last man standing, you really don't have any room for error. You have to run your pace, run your race, follow your plan. You don't have time to take a trail nap unless you're Kim. But you don't have time to lay down, take a trail nap. Or you don't have time to come in and sleep. You are on a clock, getting your work done, coming in and getting your, it's like you have an aid station every 4.2 miles. That's what I try to look at it as I was running an ultra that I didn't know when it was going to end. And every 4.2 miles I had an aid station. And when we're doing our 100-mile races in our aid stations, we try to do 3 to 5 minutes. So that is what we try to mimic. Coming in and getting that aid station and then really just going right back out there. So yeah, it is totally different than a 100-mile race because you are on a clock and there's no room for error. But I really liked the last man standing format a lot more than what I thought I was going to. I knew I was really going to enjoy it because it's a total different mental game. But I ended up enjoying it way more than what I thought it was. And part of that is the BPN atmosphere. We both know that is something special.
What do you think is the biggest difference in terms of pain from a 100-miler to, let's say, doing 24 hours of last man standing, which is about 100 miles, if I'm not mistaken? Because I think a lot of people at home watching who had never done either of the experiences might think that when you hit 100 miles in a last man standing, like it's very similar. But from knowing a lot of people have run 100 miles, as you kind of started to go into the process of just straight up running and occasionally taking breaks is way different from you have to take a break until someone tells you to go again. So what are the biggest differences, would you say, from like a pain perspective? Which would you say is harder? Because I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, that the last man standing, like the forced rest, even though it's kind of needed at some point, is it like reality is 45 minutes in, you don't need to like you would not sit for 15 minutes if in a 100-miler, like almost stopping hurts you, but you're forced to. So can you give me some more perspective on that?
Yeah, so I would say, and this is what maybe about 10 or 15 loops in, I looked at one of my crew members, Rachel, and I told her, I said, I think this is harder than going and running 100 miles because you have to force yourself to slow down, and running slower honestly is harder on your body, I think, than going and running faster. If you're running faster in a 100-mile race, you can have some faster miles and then pull back a little bit. But when you're running a little bit faster, you can open up your hip flexors, open up your lungs a little bit more, and just just have a different feel for your body than running 100 miles at 13:30 pace, where you're forced to slow down and your hip flexors don't open up the right way, and your feet are going to hurt in a different way than running a little bit faster, just because you're landing on your feet just a little bit different. So yeah, in terms of pain, I would say that it's similar, but it's also different. Like it's just different pain in a different way, I would say. More mentally challenging than going and running a 100-mile race, because there's so many different factors in the last man standing that you have to take in and think about, and really be in control.
I could be wrong on this, but I want to say over 5,000 people entered the lottery to get in this race. I think 150 were granted entry, maybe a little less after you factor in the BPN athletes that kind of got probably preferred admittance. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that, but I think that's how that works. For you, what was the moment when you found out you were in this race, and what was the level of excitement at the opportunity?
Oh man, so I ran their very first ultra, which was last year. It was the BPM 50-mile overnight, and I actually won that race. And I think that they did invite me to come out and run the last man standing. So I definitely think that played a part in it. I think I kind of won my ticket that way. And whenever Tony reached out to me and asked me, he sent me a message and said, "I hope you've been training." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I hope this is like," I just so excited whenever he told me that I was invited to come out and run this. And very quickly it turned into an A race, even though I had already had some races under my belt. That year I had already committed to doing Mingus Traverse 80. So just 2 weeks before this race, I was in Arizona running an 80-mile race in the mountains. So I had already committed to that. And so I ran that, and then, but, kind of planned everything else around the last man standing. Because when I found out that I was in, it was pretty big excitement and quickly turned into an A race for sure.
What was it like early look view at the ranch last year running the 50 miler? I did not know that. That also
Yeah.
means you're 2-0 at Bear Ranch as a female. So
Yeah.
the streak's alive and well.
Yeah. Oh man, the BPN, the overnight ultra was so much fun. It was in June, early June, so it was hot out there, man. Even being at night, it was hot. But again, BPN, the way they run their events it's so electric, and they take care of all the athletes. They take care of all the crew. They feed you. They make sure that you have everything that you need. And so after that race, I was like, man, I want to do whatever I can to run another one of their races, just because they do things different. And getting a glimpse into that, it was super cool. That was a really
Coming
fun
back,
race.
yeah, coming back here, how do you train for something like this? I'm sure I'd get a variety of answers if I asked the 132 people, but how did you personally train for this race? And can you even possibly replicate this in training at all, or no?
I do think you can replicate it. Yes, I did. Um, I did Habanero 100, which I was talking about, which is the hottest race in Texas. I think that really does prepare you for something like this. Just having the confidence of running 100 miles in 115-degree heat index gives you confidence. That race has zero shade. It's very similar to the course out there at Bear Ranch. So that gave me a lot of confidence, and just loving the fact that it's so hot outside. Like, we were watching the weather, and as the heat crept up, we were like, yes, like, we're loving this, like the heat. But I think just getting time on your feet, that's what I really try to do, is whether it's walking or running. And then you can make sure that you are slowing down your pace and really trying to get used to that slower pace, because it's so easy to go out and run at your normal daily pace. But this running a 13:30 for me is, I really have to like control things and slow down and walk, run. And I think mimicking that is very important. I did 2 weeks before, after I did Mingus, I did a little bit of, I guess you would say, sleep deprivation training. I would wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and go and do a 4.2 mile loop, rest for 5 minutes and do another one. I would do that a few times. And that really was mental, I think, of being like, hey, I can control my mind. It doesn't matter if you're tired or not. Like get up. It's like, how bad do you want this? So it was more of a mental training, but yeah, there wasn't really anything too specific besides those few little things the last 2 weeks leading up to the race of just mimicking the loops and really practicing slowing down that pace. That's a big thing.
How do you do all this while being married and having 4 boys? 4 boys specifically.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So we have a pretty busy schedule. But I try not to plan training, and then if something comes up, like freak out or anything like that, if I have a long run, if I have to do 10 miles in the morning and 10 miles in the evening, or 16 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon, if I have to split it up 3 different times, like that's okay with me. I have to know that my schedule is different than other people's. And so I really try not to do a set schedule, because I'm more of the person, if I write it down on a piece of paper, like I'm going to stick to it. So I try not to do that. I know that I need to get long runs in. I need tempo threshold runs. I need speed work. And so wherever I can fit those in the morning, middle of the day, in the afternoon, I get it in. And what I get in for the day is what I get in. I just know that each day I have to give 100% of what I can give for that day, and not compare it to anybody else's schedule or what other people are doing, because it is different having kids and working around their schedule.
I know you mentioned doing races before this one, but speaking specifically on training, do you think there was anything you did in your training that you walked away from that day of work and you thought, okay, I'm ready to go. Like, let's do this.
Heat training for sure. Like I said, I always seek out the hottest time of the day to go out and run, which would be like 3 or 4 o'clock here in Texas. And then as soon as I get done with that, I'll get in the sauna. And recently, I would say the past 6 months or so, I really added in more biking, just to get like stronger quads and glutes. So that really gave me confidence, of just having strong legs and just leg endurance of doing strength work with combined with running back and forth. Is something that I've really added in, and it's given me a lot of confidence. Like I feel like my legs can handle quite a bit.
You start this race. Let's get into it. What was the first point that you started to feel pain or doubt of some sort?
Oh, I would say pain. Oh man, I don't know. I really wouldn't say pain until mile 90. Now, boredom, it really kind of sets in pretty quick. You're doing the same thing over and over. You're trying to stick to a pace. Um, Boredom, I would say like around mile 50. I try not to use headphones or listen to music, anything like that, until I really have to. Um, so as far as pain, I had a little bit of foot pain around mile 90, and other than that, it's just trying to stay focused on one loop at a time. I would watch my pace on my watch like every now and then, and try not to watch mileage or anything like that. I had checkpoints throughout the course that I would be like, okay, I know I need to be at this checkpoint at this time, and doing the same loop over and over. I would see a sign and be like, okay, I'll see you like in 30 minutes. I'll be back here in 30 minutes. And just having like little goals like that can kind of get your mind shifted off of any sort of like aches and pains or boredom or anything like that. And I really try to talk to a lot of people out there too, because that can pass time too, and get your mind off of any sort of pain or boredom, like I said.
As someone who placed fourth, did you notice early on, let's say when there were 50 runners left, 75 runners left, even the beginning, like, okay, I know you're serious. I know you're going to make it far. Okay, you're probably going to be done in the next 5 laps. Were you aware of any of that? Give me some read on, some of the
I
internal
did.
conversations you were having with yourself.
Yeah, so I knew Lucy and Lauren and Truett. I didn't even know Kim and Kendall. They were all so far ahead of me, running like kind of a totally different strategy. But I knew Lucy was coming to be serious. I knew Lauren was going to be serious. And then there was a few other guys. You can kind of tell by their gait and kind of by their pace, like how serious they're taking this. And so, yes, there were a few people where I'd be like, okay, like I know that they're going to last like pretty far into this. And as much as you want to kind of keep your eye on that, also like try to stay in my own zone and like not even think about that, because even what I try to do is smile, and that way nobody knows how I'm feeling. So it's like they could be feeling great, but they also could be wanting to stop at the 24-hour mark. Like everybody's goal is so different. A lot of people could be just wanting to get to 50 miles or get to 100 miles. And so I really try to just stay in my zone. But yes, there were some people there that I was like, okay, like they're in it for the long haul. I could tell by the way that they stopped at every single water station and was icing off, just taking those extra little precautionary things here and there. You could tell that they were trying to stay in it for the long haul.
Do you think that, oh gosh, I have so many questions and I'm losing my train of thought. Do you think that a lot of people were trying to play mind games? Like you mentioned, smiling. Do you think other people out there were aware of that? And do you think it heightened as it got more and more competitive as time went on?
Definitely. I don't know if it was a strategy or if it was a mind game of some people, but there was a few competitors that would, they were kind of going at my pace or slower, and then all of a sudden they were like going super fast, and I'm like, are they like playing with my mind of like, hey, I'm feeling like really good, so good that I can sprint, or are they trying to open up their hip flexors and just trying to get a different pace in for their body? And because sometimes that is really nice of just doing 800 meters of just like going full out and getting those hip flexors open. So it was, is this a mind game or is this like an actual strategy of theirs? So that's why I really do think it's important that you stay in your own zone and try not to focus on other people, because you really don't know what they're doing. It could be a mind game or it could be a strategy of their own game. So just really staying focused on yourself is your best bet. But I tried to smile and do my own thing and not show any sort of discomfort.
Take me through two different aspects of the race. One, the heat starting out, even though I know you're immune to the heat based on your training and your lifestyle, but the heat, the effect it had on you, other people, as well as night one, I think is where some bleeding started to happen for a lot of people. The doubts crept in.
So the heat, obviously, I don't think it played a factor for me. I wore a really big hat. I made sure that I had long sleeves on. I made sure my neck was covered, my face was covered, sunscreen, and every single. I didn't even know they were going to have like coolers out there, like every mile, that you could get a sponge and really sponge off. So even though I'm used to the heat, you still want to respect the heat. So every single time I saw a cooler with sponges and ice, I made sure that I stopped, even if it took a minute or 2 minutes. It's worth your time to stop and cool your body off. And as far as nighttime, I think it's a good change from the heat, from being in the sun. I think it's a good change to, you can change clothes, you can take your hat off, you get your headlamp on, and it's almost like a totally different race with going into the nighttime. And on the first night, you're really not sleep deprived or anything like that. You're pretty exhausted. The heat does zap you. You're pretty exhausted from that. But yeah, it's you kind of look forward to going into the night, and then after the night, you're looking forward to the sun coming up. And once you see that the sky start getting lighter, like again, it gives you energy to continue.
Take me through like laps, let's say 20 through 28, because I think a lot happened within those. How did you mentally push yourself past the 100-mile mark? And what was it like to continue to push as the competition got less and less and less?
The getting to the 100-mile mark, I think that was a big goal of mine, and I knew I could do it. Like I've run 100-mile races before, so that wasn't an issue of getting to that mileage. But that was the first goal. Like you have to break these kind of things down like in little bits. Otherwise you'll be completely overwhelmed. So getting to the 100-mile mark was huge. Like I felt really good getting to that. And then it was after that, it was just loop by loop by loop. And I really thought that at the 24-hour mark, that was going to be a big goal for a lot of people. So there would be a big drop off after that. And there was a little bit of a drop off, and that kind of gives you like a boost. You're like, okay, like now it's the competition's even less, and now you're out here with the people that really want to be out here. And so, yeah, just, yeah, that's a big mental check mark, the 100-mile point. And I ended up getting 28 complete loops and would have loved to go a little bit further, but my body had shut down. I went out there for a couple, I think another mile or so after going out on loop 29. I think I got another mile in, but then like my body just kind of started shutting down and couldn't walk straight, and everything kind of seemed like it was closing in. And so I said, let me catch this before. But now, since I have felt that, now I'm like, maybe I should have like explored that a little bit more. So I'm excited to explore that pain cave just a little bit deeper next time.
You're psychotic, but I love you for it. I
Oh, I
can't say that would
know.
be me. Like I was talking to Kim yesterday, or not yesterday, a few days ago, and he was saying, I want to say like lap 35. So a while ago for him, he was hallucinating that he was like pushing shopping carts and
I
like
saw
all he was
that.
like hallucinating. And I was like, I would have just stopped then and there and fell asleep and gotten back to normal. That's scary. It couldn't be me.
Right.
What do you
I
think are
think
some of these elements like yourself that allow you to like want to explore that sort of sphere in that world?
so. It's just a place that you can't replicate unless you go out and do it yourself. I didn't really hallucinate. Sometimes I'd like see a bush or a tree and it kind of like shapes like something else. And then as you get closer, you're like, okay, that's not real. Like that's actually a bush. I did see some sort of animal in the tree. I don't know what it was, but I almost pulled out my camera and like recorded it so I could like look back later and be like, okay, I did see this, or no, like there was nothing there. But I think if you can just keep that under control, like hallucinations and things like that, if you're like, okay, this is like, I know this isn't real, and this is going to pass, then you can like continue on. Like,
You make it 28 laps. What was it like ringing the bell, throwing in the towel? Were you proud of it? Were you sad? What were the emotions?
no, I was so proud. I think I told Nick, I said I couldn't be more excited to ring this bell. So they came out, medical came out and got me and took me to the tent, and I just got a bag of fluid, and they just checked all my vitals and said everything looked great. And once I got my feet back up underneath me without falling over, I went back out there and got my horseshoe and was able to talk to Nick. And then I went over and rang the bell, which like I really did feel proud of the effort that I put in. And I know I left everything out there. I couldn't have done any, even though I wanted to do more, there was nothing else to give. I know I gave everything. So going over and ringing the bell it really was such an honor.
What did it mean to you to be the last woman standing and go 2-0? I guess on your home course at this point, being from Texas.
Right. Oh my gosh. It meant so much. When I realized I was the last woman standing, or was fixing to be the last woman standing, I got so fired up that I had to ground myself and get back on my pace, and also be respectful of the other runners because they had put in. So Lucy and Lauren were the other two that were out there. And I just wanted to be respectful of them. And I mean, because doing what they did was unbelievable. And so, but yes, when I realized I was the last woman standing, it was very exciting. And I was pretty fired up. I had to make myself walk and settle back down and make sure that I kept my heart rate down. But when I came around, because you come around two times, it was almost like a figure eight kind of course. So you come around two times. And when I came around and knew I was going to be the last woman standing, I just kind of looked over at my crew and just pointed at them. That's the picture of me pointing at them like we got this. Like it just gave me an extra boost for a few more loops.
You've had some time to reflect, so I'm kind of glad I'm not talking to you the day after. I think a lot of times reflection takes a little bit. I'm sure you're still reflecting on it, but as far as you've thought about, reflected, talked to others about, like your husband or support system, what's the biggest takeaway from this experience and from those 28 laps?
You have to have a very strong crew. There's no way I could do it without my husband. First of all, he believes in me more than I believe in myself. And my other two crew members, Rachel and Faith, they kept me strong mentally. Faith gave me I joked and said she gave me 28 massages because every time I came in, she gave me a leg massage. and I couldn't have made it through without her. Rachel made sure I had ice in my hat, ice in my bandana. She made sure I had ice water in my handhelds every single time, and that she refilled my go gels in my handhelds every single loop. And just reflecting on this, I know it can be hard to rely on other people for help. I think that can be a struggle for some people. I know I used to struggle with it, but if you can put your ego aside and learn to lean on other people for support, you can get so much further in life and sports. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. Like it really is a team effort. And our crew is getting stronger, and every race that we all do together, we're learning like each other and what I need when I come in, and they're learning to like just they're on it. Like they're checking the boxes every time I come in, and it's just getting stronger at each race we do. So it's going to get better and better.
I love it. I want to hear, what was the post-race meal when food started to settle? What'd you go for? And how nice was I'm assuming, hot shower? Maybe you were too hot, maybe cold shower, but like cleaning your body, what did that feel like? I imagine if I was to run for 24 hours straight, that would like be the first thing I look forward to.
Honestly, it's usually my husband's like, you need to take a shower. And I'm like, no, just like let me sleep for like just a few hours. And he's like, no, take a shower. Like, you're going to feel better after you take a shower. So I usually have to be made to get in the shower. But on the way home, so we live like 4 hours from Austin. On the way home, we stopped at In-N-Out, and I had huge burger, fries, animal style, like, oh man. And I have eaten nonstop for 2 weeks, and my hunger is just really starting to like settle down just a
Really?
little. But pretty much I eat clean pretty much, all the year round. But after races and leading up to races, I try to get my gut used to a lot of different foods so I don't have any issues. So I've given myself freedom to eat pretty much candy, burgers, pizza, to let my body have what it's craving, and really just refuel.
What's it like
Burgers and pizza.
sleeping?
Lots of burgers and
Yeah.
pizza.
Yeah. What's it like sleeping after one of these events? Like that night, did you sleep fine? Almost 2 weeks after, like I know it can mess with your sleep. What's that been like?
It takes about a week for my sleep to get back to where I can sleep. That night, honestly, I was probably up for 36 hours, 28 in the race. And then afterwards, you're just so hyped. You're so excited. Your body's out of rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is just completely messed up. So it usually a couple hours here, a couple hours there. And then after about a week, then it's your body's just adrenaline dump, and I just crashed. Like, I've been sleeping so good for the past week. Like 9 o'clock, I'm in the bed, and I can't keep my eyes open. Like, I'm sleeping good, and like I'm having to get like woken up, like, wake up, like it's time to get up. So yeah, definitely recovering really well.
When you were out there, 4 people left, or even less than that, like at what point did you realize that Kim and Kendall were as special as they ended up being?
Oh man, when it was just me, Kendall, Kim, and Mitch were the final four. I knew Mitch was gonna go a few more loops. Like, you could just see it in him. Like, he was there. Like, he was pretty serious. And then I thought Kim and Kendall are different. Like, the way that they carried themselves, the look on their face, how consistent they were with every loop coming in. I think that's a big thing is you can tell the consistency that they had on every single loop, and just the straight face. They were different. You could tell that they were different, and it was so fun to watch people that are on that level that are just different. It being around that is special. They're really special people.
Before wrapping up this conversation, I do want to give some context to the listener of who you are, how you got to this place. So bridge the gap between getting into fitness, CrossFit, all the way up to getting into some of the ultra marathons that you described that led up to LMS.
Yeah, so I did competitive CrossFit as an individual, and I did some elite team stuff I really started CrossFit in 2013, but didn't really go elite until 2015 to 2018. And then kind of just got burnt out and my life went in a different direction. And I had my two youngest, which are 4 and 3 right now. And I just kind of wanted that competitiveness back. Like I really like that drive. It really helps drive you to that next level. And I had watched, I believe, a documentary with Sally McRae, and I watched Cocodona Live on TV, on their YouTube live, and I saw that I was like, I don't know about a 250-mile race, but I saw that they had Sedona 125, and I said, I'm going to sign up for this. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to sign up for it, and I'm going to find a way. And after watching her documentary, I was just so fired up to do something new. And I got a few hundred, or I got one 100-mile where I did a lot of 50Ks leading up to my 100-mile in Oklahoma that led up to Sedona 125, and was pretty much hooked after that, after running 100 miles and getting to a place mentally that you can't get unless you go out there yourself and put yourself in that misery. I was hooked after that because you can't replicate that. It's something that you have to go out and find and really want to better yourself by putting yourself in a spot like that. Because that's what it does. If you go out there and get miserable, I know it kind of sounds like counterintuitive, but going and putting yourself in a spot where you really have to rely on others and really have to rely on your mental strength, it really makes you grow in areas that you can't replicate any other way.
Totally. It's in those moments where you prove to yourself the type of person that you are, because you
Yeah,
have an
once
easy
you
door
start
out.
getting those small bits of confidence from those races, you're like, okay, like maybe I can do a little bit more. And then you do a little bit more, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit more next time. It's just growth. Like growth is beautiful. It's so cool. And you sitting at home or doing 5Ks that you're comfortable with, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you have never done a 10K before and you're used to 5Ks, like push yourself to do a 10K or a half marathon or just a little bit more. So you're like, yeah, I can do a little bit more.
Alyssa, final serious question for you. For those who have listened to our conversation, watched you 2 weekends ago, are inspired by you, your life, your accomplishments, what's the final takeaway message that you want to leave with the audience today?
Oh man, just believing in yourself. Just that little bit of self-belief can go so far. Put in the work, be consistent every single day. Don't make excuses. I've got 4 children. I have a husband, and we run a business. And if you can just do a little bit each day to get 1% better, it will add up. And once you start stacking it and you seeing the wins, like that self-belief just is like a snowball effect. And just don't give up. Just keep putting yourself out there and keep working hard.
Alyssa, for those who want to keep following along your story, your journey, see more of you, where can they find you? Where can they follow you? And yeah, where can they follow along your journey in life?
Just Instagram at ak.mcclellan. Yep, that's most where I post everything is Instagram. Yep, my biggest platform. So I love connecting with people. So reach out, ask questions.
Amazing. Alyssa, final question for you. The question I ask every guest on every single podcast. If you had Gordon Ramsay coming over to your house for dinner, what would you choose to make for him?
What would I make for him?
Yes, you're cooking. You're cooking for Gordon.
Oh my goodness. Probably a ribeye. I love steak.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, a good ribeye, reverse seared.
Ooh, how do you reverse sear it? What is
My
that?
husband does it. Don't ask me. So he cooks it on we cook it outside on the grill, and then he brings it in and does something on the stove with butter, and it is
so it's like both.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
My husband
I have
does
homework to do now
for me. He takes care of the cooking. He is the best cook.
I love it. Alyssa, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, to give me deeper insight on your remarkable performance, and sincere congratulations on making it 28 loops, 28 hours. Truly remarkable. I can't fathom it, and excited to now follow along the rest of the crazy things you get up to in the years to come.
Thank you for having me. And also, I just wanted to say congrats on your partnership with BPN with the podcast. Like, that's exciting. So you should be proud of yourself.